Facebook post speaking out against the actions of the members of the Sigma Chi fraternity at this year's Derby Days.
Over 1,000 shares and hundreds of comments later, and the university has launched a Title IX investigation into what happened Friday night.
Sudhu Upadhyaya joins us now for an in-depth look at what all happened to cause this big controversy. Sudhu?
That's right, Jennifer. Sigma Chi's annual fundraising and philanthropy event went smoothly throughout the week until the dance competition on Friday night. That's when some vulgar remarks were made that overshadowed the entire event. One Ole Miss student took to social media on Saturday, which has brought major attention to the incident. Ole Miss sophomore Abby Bruce got emotional on Friday night as she watched the Derby Days dance competition.
I felt completely ashamed to be remotely connected with such an organization.
In a Facebook post, Bruce said she teared up as she watched women be humiliated in the name of philanthropy. What Bruce is referring to is remarks made by Derby Days MCs who call themselves Derby Daddies. In her Facebook post, Bruce says Derby Days queens were asked questions like which Sigma Chi they would go down on and what type of sausage they would prefer. Listen here as the MCs refer to Alpha Delta Pi sorority member Bobby Joe Davis by a sexual term.
Alright, Bobby Joe, what's your nickname?
Bobby Smyrna.
So you're telling me your nickname's not BJ? We're gonna go ahead and take BJ on that. Alright, Bobby Joe, alright, I'll give you an easier question. What's your fondest memory of the Sigma Chi basement?
Getting rowdy and neon.
Hey, I know we've already asked that question, but we're going to go ahead and go with her nickname is BJ.
While Davis declined to speak to Newswatch about the incident, Bruce says many women might be afraid to speak out in fear of backlash.
As a woman, we are taught to just smile and be complacent and accept what is given to us, and it's not okay.
Sigma Chi President Clay Woolley says the fraternity did not do enough to stop the incidents from occurring and says the acts of the MCs fall on the whole fraternity. Woolley also responded to comments of the incident promoting rape culture.
Those things never should have been said. Putting it into the category of rape culture, though, that is that is extreme, like you said. I mean, it's it's supposed to be done out of innuendo and fun, and it got carried away too far this year and shouldn't have taken place.
Since the post was released, the university has begun a Title IX investigation into the matter. The Office of Dean of Students released a statement Saturday saying, if substantiated, the behavior reported at this event clearly violates campus policy and one of the community's core values, which is for our students to show respect and dignity for all. Director of Equal Opportunity and Regulatory Compliance Rebecca Dressler also added, it is important that members of our community feel safe and supported. Actions that undermine that goal will not be tolerated. While he could not go into specifics, Woolley did tell us the MCs at the event are currently going through an internal judicial process and preliminary disciplinary action has already been taken. Woolley also told me he contacted all sororities involved in Derby Days to apologize about the vulgar comments. Now, this weekend's incident has shed light on another issue. After Bruce's social media post went viral, many sororities emailed their members telling them not to speak to the press and not to share the post. Newswatch was sent screenshots of messages from Delta Gamma, Phi Mu, AO Pi, Tri Delta, and Kappa Alpha Theta asking its members not to speak to the press. We reached out to the 11 presidents of the Panhellenic sororities for a comment, and most did not reply because their national chapters do not allow them to speak to the press. We were also contacted by a former sorority member who was forced to drop from her chapter last night after voicing her opinion on social media against Sigma Chi's and Derby Days. The ex-member wanted to stay anonymous because she feared backlash, and she's not the only one with that fear. We interviewed another sorority member who wanted to talk on camera, but was afraid of what her fellow sisters would say.
There's just a code of silence, basically, among sorority and fraternity members that the way that they act is just the way they've always acted, and that's the way they always will, and that girls shouldn't do anything about it. They should just let it happen.
It's just really disheartening to me that women are being silenced by the type of organization that's supposed to empower them.
If women aren't allowed to speak out and to let fraternities know that, no, we're not okay with this behavior, or to talk about how it affected them, there's no dialogue about it, and that's something that's very important, and is needed for fraternities to move past things like this.
So quite a lot going on with this story right now. Remember to follow at newswatch_UM on Twitter for the latest on this incident. Jennifer Madison, back to you.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. This is all my thoughts, my speculations, and my opinions. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers. I hope you're having a lovely week. I'd love to thank my viewers, my new subscribers. I really appreciate all your comments, your mindfulness. I love my subscribers. They're the most kindest, respectful people. I'd like to give a shout out to Real Eyes Analyze, Denise, a very close friend of mine. She's even one of our subscribers. She helps me with a lot of research and she's really good at what she does. I'd love to thank Bianca for Baby Huda. Bianca is very creative. She has a channel too. Please subscribe to her. She's one of our first subscribers. I really appreciate Bianca. She's a close friend. A very kind person. I'd love to thank Bianca for the hard work she's done with Baby Huda. And I'd love to give a shout out to Outcast. He's really excellent in audios. He is really, really good with audios, especially Linda Lane, body cams. So I would advise you all to tune into his channel. He loves basically helping other channels out. Very decent person. I'd like to give a shout out to Bianca, obviously. Love you, Bianca. And I would love to give a shout out to Skula Machi. Please subscribe to their channels. We all need to support each other. The clip I just played, I need to give a shout out to the person who sent me, Kate Murphy. I really do apologize because I went back to my work and I found this. I wish I found it earlier, but like they say, better late than never. This was about the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. Derby Day is an event that Sigma Chi has. I think most of the sororities and fraternities have that. It was in 2012. You saw how they were literally bad-mouthing the girls, the sorority girls, and the sorority girls said, let's keep it in-house. Let's not let other people know what happened. There was a police investigation because of the Derby Day event. It was assault, and it was basically, how do I explain it? Trigger warning. It was about grape with the R and such things. So they had the culture that they were talking about is the grape culture. Pay attention. And then we have a young man, JS, in the Idaho, Moscow, who was thrown out of his fraternity, Delta Tau Delt, because of S assaults or S harassments. This shows us that there is a rotten culture, grape culture going on with these fraternity kids. In 2016, there was an investigation once again on the Sigma Chi fraternity for hazing. Somebody was almost unalived in that incident. But you know how they do it. They just close it down, shut it down after they say they investigated it. Nobody was held accountable in 2012. They just had to go to some kind of behavior school, I would say. They should have sent them to therapy. It is important that members of our community feel safe and supported. Actions that undermine that goal will not be tolerated. Rebecca Dressler wrote it. 2012 was a long time ago, so I'm sure they had different staff and different students. But yet, the grape culture, the hazing, the S assaults was still going on. There was nothing new. And while I was reading this more, after Kate sent me a bit of it, like she said to find the clip, I went, searched hard for it, got it. And then when I looked more into it, right after the two incidents, 2012 and 2016, came Idaho 4, unaliving. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, we search for patterns of behaviors. And this is disturbing. Why do I feel like they've always pushed it under the rug, swept it under the rug until the Idaho 4 happened? Let's not forget, they did the same with Hudson Lindo. The 19-year-old boy was unalived after a Delta Tau party. Who goes to Delta Tau? Jack Showalter. Who was at the party? Xana, Maddie, and Maddie's boyfriend Jeff. You heard them actually calling a young man who was down playing in the field Bobby Schmerker. And that reminded me of when the Halloween incident was going on and Maddie was sitting on DM's lap. I believe Xana was recording it. May she rest in peace, all of them. Maddie put it in her TikTok and it's still up in her TikTok. She wrote, like this if you're G-A-Y, Jaden. Now we have Jaden Smith, who dresses in a weird manner for me. Dresses more like a girl, but I guess that's the trend for him. And now they're talking about Bobby S., the rapper, who's had some nasty incidents. Then we have the Davids, that night allegedly, like 4chan said, who Ethan called them G-A-Y. Do y'all see a kind of pattern behavior going on here? Harassing, bullying, S assaults, and rape actually did happen. Idaho 4 was the one that exposed everything. Isn't it strange that this is all Sigma Chi? All Sigma Chi. We know that Xana, Ethan, Emily, Hunter, and Josie used to spend time at the Sigma Chi. There are a lot of pictures of them at the Sigma Chi. I wonder, this is my speculation, I've heard rumors that Xana and Emily fell out. I want to know why Emily's legs are bruised when the police came, right under jeans where it ends, the short jeans. You have Hunter, who has bruises on his legs. You have DM, whose fingers look like burnt or cut. And then you have Jack D, who is basically a walking red flag, in my opinion. So this disturbing culture is nothing new. You heard the president of Sigma Chi talking about it. I really felt sorry for the girl who said this is not the way females should be treated. Imagine these young students come to the college, pay so much money to get a degree, but then they get harassed, and that's not right. So I'm sticking with my opinion that the Sigma Chi fraternity, the other fraternities like Alpha Kappa Lambda, because I find it strange that they were at the band field at such an odd time. Let's not forget, in the beginning of this case, we were told 3 to 4 a.m. is when it happened. Look at all the figures running at 3:12. Look at the things that are happening at the band field. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Banfield boys were involved with the Sigma Chi fraternities. I won't be surprised if the sororities were involved. I'm not just pointing our fingers, but the more you see how they're behaving, especially at the 911 call, the more it tells us that it's the students, in my opinion. Let me know what you'll think. I think this is really disturbing. Please like, share, and subscribe. May the victims rest in peace.